Brought to you by the Ramsey Network app. Download for content that keeps you motivated today.
You're on the campaign trail. I'm curious because it sounds like what you guys are talking about is the job of the politician and the government is to create an environment where people can thrive and businesses can thrive. So what do you think politicians need to do? If your people get in office, what are the steps that we need to take to create that environment?
Well, I mean, massive deregulation. And I think that this is something President Trump certainly understands. Cutting the red tape, that has to be done at local, state, and federal level. It is so much harder to start a business now than it was to start a business a few decades ago. And if you want to build a house now, then the number of hoops that you have to jump through doing environmental impact statements and applying to things. Now, again, it's way better here than it is in other countries. If you look at, I'm very familiar with the legal system in Israel. The legal system in Israel, to build a new building in Israel, just to get the permits approved is like 270 days. To do it in the state of Florida, where I am, is like 3 hours. So, but with that said, there's too much regulation. That regulation makes it very, very difficult. You need to stop confiscating people's wealth. When people make money, let them make their money and then reinvest their money in new things. We need to get rid of the systemic burden on the American economy that requires that drawdown, which is these giant welfare programs. These giant welfare programs are eating the American economy alive. And none of these politicians will take it on because when you have a concentrated benefit and a diffuse cost, then it's very hard for politicians to actually make the case for getting rid of the program, right? When 10 people are really benefiting a lot, but 1,000 people are paying 1 cent, it's much easier to just say to those 10 people, hey, you're getting your money. You know, everything's great for you. And you're just paying 1 cent. But the reality is if you take 1 cent many, many, many times, which is what the government is doing, eventually you end up bankrupting everything. And politicians on both sides are running screaming away from this sort of stuff because the American people are not prepared to hear it. And frankly, I don't put it on the politicians. I really think that when it comes to the politicians, I deeply believe in Thomas Sowell's statement about this. It's not about electing the right people. It's about creating incentives so the wrong people do the right things. And in the end, that's on us. Right? We're the voters. We're the ones who get to decide whether we hold politicians accountable for lying to us about Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid or the welfare programs that are eating the budget. And the American people seem to be willing to walk right off that cliff. I can't blame the politicians for taking advantage of it. I blame them for lying. I blame them for not telling the truth. But that's what you and I are here for, is to tell the truth also. I mean, I think that I've spoken with a lot of Congress people, senators, presidents, and one of the things that I constantly say to the politicians is, your job is not my job and my job is not your job. Your job is to go get 80% of the loaf, and my job is to define what the loaf looks like. And what I see from the politicians is them trying to do our job and us trying to do their job, meaning we are afraid to tick off our audiences by saying the thing that might be unpopular because not enough people are willing to agree with the idea that they're free to succeed in America. You might piss somebody off, right? And so there's audience capture in the commentariat. And then for politicians, they want to pretend that the 80% that they're getting is 100%. Because that's how you win. You pretend that actually you cut the single best deal in the history of humankind, even when you only got 50% of the loaf. And so what you'll do is you'll pretend, well, sure, I didn't touch welfare, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, but I solved all our budget problems and we're going to soar into the future. It's like, no, now you're lying. So I think both the commentariat and the political sphere have to stop lying. I think both of them are lying.